For Fix-A-Lot here, we're going to be changing the front shocks out of a 99 Ford Crown Victoria. This is the top of the front shock mount, and you have the top actually double nutted here, and 9/16 and 14 millimeters are very similar. So you lock in with the 9/16 on the bottom, and then the strategy is to use an extension for the 14 millimeter on a ratchet in order to get that double nut off. So underneath the car, the shock is held on by two bolts, one on this side, one on this side. Just loosen these up and then loosen the upper shock mount. Completely remove the nut up there. Once you remove these bolts down here, and the shock will drop out of the bottom. The shock, as you can see, resides within the spring itself, but will come out through the bottom, and then the new one just goes up in the same way. Make sure that you have proper jack stands underneath the A-arms on both sides, plus a jack to support for safety, and then chock the back wheels. Bottom bolts are pretty easy to remove. The double nut is also easy to remove, but the bottom one is difficult. So what you have to do is you have to set it up with vice grips to grab the top, and then use a 9/16 open end in order to remove the bottom nut. So once the bottom nut is removed, you'll have a washer and one rubber spacer or bushing to remove up on top. And then when you remove the shock itself, there's another rubber bushing on the opposite side, and that's how you reassemble it. So we're going to be installing the Monroe gas magnum shocks. Part number here is 550010, and this was picked up on eBay, but you can pick this up at any local parts store. Here's all that comes in the kit: front shock and then hardware itself. On the left you can see the old KYB gas shock, and on the right the new Monroe. Heavy duty for the P71 Crown Victoria that we're going to install it into. First, put on the washer itself, cup side up. Next, assemble onto one of the bushings, and then install this into the car. First supporting it with the bottom bolts, and then on top, once it goes through the body, assemble on the other bushing, the other washer itself, and then the two nuts. This one is the lower one. We'll reuse the upper one. A trick you may have to use is using a jack to actually assist you in getting the shock up into place, and then putting the lower bolt in. You'll have to hang it from above with one of the nuts, and then go ahead and tighten these guys here, and then move up to the top. You want to assemble these bolts with a little bit of moly grease, get them in there easier, and then do not over torque them since they're only 1/2-inch bolts. So when fully assembled, you can see the top of the shock has about a 1/2 inch of thread that's untightened. And now you can see, after I've torqued down tighten the bottom nut, the rubber bushings are slightly compressed, and there's about 3/4 of an inch of thread exposed. So you get the bushings a little bit compressed, and that should be good enough. Then put on the top nut and you'll be done. Do the same for the other side. and you'll be ready to ride.